Commander Allison Wright yawned as she stared at the screen of data points. Another day, another set of scans to review. After 5 years on the Galactic Survey Corps vessel, Starseeker, she had grown used to the routine. Most planets fell into familiar categories: gas giants, icy rocks, and occasionally, worlds with simple life forms. She took a sip of her warm drink and scrolled through the newest readings. The Starseeker had entered a solar system that wasn't a priority. A yellow star with 8 planets. The third one from the sun had caught the ship's automated system's attention. Allison's eyes widened as she looked at the data. She checked it twice to make sure it wasn't a mistake. "Computer, verify atmospheric readings for Planet 3, she said. The computer responded in its calm voice. Verified. Atmosphere contains 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, 0.9% argon, and 0.1% trace gases including carbon dioxide. Allison leaned forward. That's impossible. The oxygen levels alone would cause most organic matter to combust. She pulled up more data. The gravity was high, at least 30% stronger than the galactic average for inhabited worlds. The planet experienced extreme temperature variations, from scorching deserts to frozen poles. There were active volcanoes, frequent earthquakes, and storm systems that could flatten entire regions. "This planet should be dead," she muttered. But as she zoomed in the scanners, she saw something that made her nearly spill her drink. Lights, cities, roads, signs of advanced civilization. Allison quickly sent the data to Central Command. The response came back within minutes, marked as urgent. Planet classified as Class 14 Deathworld. Highest rating ever recorded. Observation only. No contact authorized. Extreme caution advised. Allison had never seen anything above a Class 9 before. Most council races evolved on Class 2 or 3 worlds. Peaceful environments with mild conditions and few predators. "Lieutenant Garcia, set up a long-range observation post," she ordered. "I want eyes on this planet, but maintain standard orbit distance." "Yes, Commander," Garcia replied, his fingers already moving across the control panel. On the view screen, the blue and green planet turned slowly. Beautiful, but deadly. Jack Miller loved his morning walks through Yellowstone National Park. As a ranger for the past 8 years, he knew every trail and tree. Today, he was checking the western boundary before the tourists arrived. The early morning air was crisp, and a light mist hung over the valleys. Jack stopped to drink from his water bottle when something caught his eye. A flash of light in the clear morning sky. He looked up, shielding his eyes from the sun. It wasn't a plane. It moved too strangely. It wasn't a satellite either. The light hovered, then changed direction sharply before vanishing. Jack pulled out his phone and called his supervisor. "Hey, Bill. Just saw something weird in the sky over the western ridge. Any reports of military exercises or drone testing in the area?" Bill's voice crackled through the speaker. "Negative. Probably just weather balloons from the research station. They've been launching a few this week." Jack frowned. "Weather balloons don't change direction like that." "Look, Jack, unless it's a lost hiker or a bear problem, it's not our concern. I've got 3 tour buses arriving in an hour and 2 rangers called in sick." "Right. I'll finish my rounds." Jack put his phone away but couldn't shake the feeling that what he saw wasn't a weather balloon. After completing his patrol, he decided to drive to the western ridge after his shift. The sun was setting when Jack parked his truck at the lookout point. He took out his binoculars and scanned the darkening sky. For nearly an hour, he saw nothing unusual. Just as he was about to leave, the lights appeared again. 3 of them, moving in formation. Jack grabbed his camera from the truck and zoomed in as far as possible. The shapes behind the lights were unlike any aircraft he had ever seen. "I knew it," he whispered to himself. "What are you?" The lights suddenly dimmed and vanished. Jack checked his camera, hoping he had captured something. The images were blurry, but clearly showed objects that shouldn't be there. Whatever they were, Jack was determined to find out. He had no idea that he had just spotted the advanced scouts of the Galactic Survey Corps, or that his world was about to change forever. Dr. Ethan Cole pressed his face against the viewport of the observation pod. For 5 days straight, he had barely slept. The Class 14 Deathworld below was too fascinating to miss even a minute of data collection. The readings must be wrong, he said to himself as he reviewed the latest scans. The pod floated silently in high orbit, cloaked from Earth's detection systems. Ethan had joined the Galactic Survey Corps 15 years ago to study alien life. He never expected to find a planet where life shouldn't be possible at all. "Computer, show me location grid 7 again," he said. The screen displayed a vast desert. Humans had built a sprawling city right in the middle of it. The daytime temperature there reached levels that would kill most galactic species. Yet humans not only survived, they had swimming pools and outdoor cafes. "They're not just surviving this planet. They love it," Ethan muttered. He switched to another grid showing a coastal city built along a fault line. The area had regular earthquakes and was at risk for tsunamis. Millions of humans lived there anyway. Ethan made more notes in his research log. Species shows remarkable adaptability. They build homes in flood zones, on volcanic islands, in freezing mountains and burning deserts. They swim in oceans full of predators. They climb mountains where the air is too thin to breathe. This isn't just adaptation. It's almost like they enjoy the danger. Commander Wright's voice came through the speakers. "Dr. Cole, how is the observation going?" "Commander, you won't believe what I'm seeing. These humans are incredible. Their biology must be remarkably resilient. Remember protocol, Doctor. We observe only." "Of course, Commander. But I have to say, classifying them as just a Deathworld species doesn't tell the whole story. We follow the Council's classification system, Dr. Cole. That's not our decision to make." "Yes, Commander," Ethan said, but his mind was already racing with new questions. Linda Gomes stared at her computer screen in the Climate Research Center. Something was wrong with the satellite data. For the third time this week, there were gaps in the imaging, small but consistent shadows that shouldn't be there. She pushed her glasses up and called her colleague. "Peter, can you come look at this?" Peter Scott walked over and leaned on her desk. "What's up?" "These anomalies in the satellite feed. They show up at the same time each day, following this pattern." She pointed to the screen. "It's like something is blocking our satellites, but there's nothing scheduled to be in that orbital path." Peter frowned. "Could be space debris." "Space debris doesn't move in perfect formation or correct its own course." Linda pulled up more images. "Look at this. Whatever it is, it's staying in our blind spots deliberately. You think someone is watching us, like another country's spy satellites." Linda shook her head. "These aren't in any database. They move too smoothly, too perfectly. And look at this energy reading. It's not like anything I've seen before." Peter looked uncomfortable. "Linda, be careful with this. Remember what happened to that guy from NASA who claimed he found evidence of alien technology? He lost his job and became a laughingstock." "I know." Linda sighed. "But what if he was right? Just find another explanation first. Any other explanation." Peter walked back to his desk. Linda turned back to her screen. She knew what she was seeing wasn't space junk or weather phenomena. Something or someone was watching Earth, trying not to be seen. She saved the data to her private drive and deleted it from the main system. Tonight, she would set up her own tracking program from home. If something was up there, she would find proof. As she drove home that evening, Linda noticed a bright flash in the sky. Just for a second, then gone. Most people would think it was a shooting star. Linda knew better. That light moved against the direction of orbit. Whatever was up there, it wasn't natural, and it wasn't human, and she was going to prove it. The small scout pod shook violently as it entered Earth's atmosphere. Inside, technician Zara Voss fought with the controls. Red warning lights flashed across her dashboard. Starseeker, this is Scout Pod 3. Engine failure. I'm losing altitude, she reported, her voice steady despite the danger. Commander Wright's voice crackled through the communication system. Zora, activate emergency return protocol. Negative. Systems not responding. Zora tried another switch. Nothing happened. The gravity is pulling me down faster than expected. Preparing for crash landing. The pod streaked through the night sky like a meteor. Zara saw mountains, then forests below her. She aimed for a clearing, but the controls barely responded. The ground rushed up to meet her. The impact threw her against her harness. Metal tore. Glass shattered. Then everything went quiet. Zara touched her forehead and felt blood. Her leg was trapped under a collapsed panel. Outside the damaged pod, she could hear the sounds of the alien world. Wind in trees, distant animal calls. The air that leaked in was rich with oxygen, making her feel lightheaded. She needed help, but the strict non-contact rules were clear. No interaction with the Deathworld species. But as pain shot through her leg, Zora wondered if she had a choice. Officer Sam Bennett was finishing his night patrol when the call came in. A bright object had crashed in the woods near Miller Creek. Probably a meteor, the dispatcher said. Sam drove his police cruiser along the dark county road, then turned onto a dirt path. His headlights swept across the trees. He parked where the path ended and continued on foot, flashlight in hand. The smell of burnt metal and strange chemicals led him to a small clearing. What he found was definitely not a meteor. A silver object about the size of a small car had carved a path through the trees. It was smooth, with no wings or visible engines. Steam rose from its cracked shell. Dispatch, this is Officer Bennett. You better call the state police. Maybe the military too. This is not a meteor. Can you describe what you're seeing, Sam? The dispatcher asked. Before Sam could answer, part of the object slid open. He dropped his radio and drew his gun. Police officer, stay where you are, he shouted, heart pounding. A figure emerged from the opening. It looked almost human, but not quite. Smaller, with pale blue skin and large eyes that reflected his flashlight beam. The strange being was hurt, bleeding a dark blue liquid from a cut on its forehead. One of its legs was clearly injured. The alien raised both hands slowly, a universal gesture of peace. Help, it said in perfect English, though with a strange accent. Please. Sam lowered his gun slightly. What are you? My name is Zora Voss, technical specialist, Galactic Survey Corps. My ship malfunctioned. The alien winced in pain. I need medical assistance. Sam knew his training covered many situations, but first contact with an alien wasn't one of them. He picked up his radio. Dispatch, cancel that call. It was just a weather balloon. Nothing to worry about. I'll handle it. He turned off his radio before the dispatcher could ask questions. Can you walk? He asked Zora. Not well. My leg is damaged. Sam holstered his gun and approached carefully. I'm going to help you. Then you're going to explain exactly what the Galactic Survey Corps is doing on Earth. On the Starseeker, chaos erupted on the bridge. Commander Wright stared at the emergency alert. Scout Pod 3 had crashed. Worse, they had lost contact with Zora. Location of crash site, she demanded. Rural Colorado. Small human settlement nearby, Lieutenant Garcia reported. Sensors showed the pod is damaged beyond repair. And Zora. Life signs are stable, but she's moving away from the crash site, possibly with a human. Commander Wright closed her eyes briefly. This was exactly what they had been ordered to prevent. Contact with a Class 14 Deathworld species was dangerous enough, but now one of their crew was in the hands of these unpredictable, resilient beings. Prepare a rescue team, she ordered. We need to retrieve Zora and any technology before the humans can study it. That violates non-interference protocols, Garcia reminded her. The protocols were broken when that pod crashed. Now we minimize the damage. Wright looked at the blue planet on the view screen and hoped these humans are as reasonable as they are tough. Dr. Ethan Cole's heart raced as the small rescue ship entered Earth's atmosphere. Against direct orders, he and 3 other crew members were descending to retrieve Zora. Commander Wright had finally agreed, but only after hours of debate. Remember, minimal contact. She had warned them. Get Zora and leave. That's it. The ship's sensors led them to a small cabin in the woods. They landed in a clearing nearby and activated their cloaking technology. Life signs show Zara is inside that structure, said Security Officer Lena Pottle. There's a human with her. Ethan nodded. Let me do the talking. We don't want to frighten the human. They approached the cabin cautiously. Before they could knock, the door opened. A tall human male stood there, hand resting on what Ethan recognized as a primitive weapon holstered at his hip. I've been expecting you, the human said calmly. Zara said you'd come eventually. Sam watched as 4 strange beings approached his hunting cabin. He had brought Zara here after the crash, knowing it was private and safe. For 2 days, he had helped her treat her injuries using supplies from his first aid kit. In return, she had told him about the Galactic Survey Corps and why they were observing Earth. Now her people had come for her. They looked similar to Zara, smaller than humans, with blue-tinted skin and large eyes. One stepped forward. I am Dr. Ethan Cole. We've come for our crew member. Sam nodded. She's resting. The leg is better, but she needs proper medical care. He stepped aside. Come in. The aliens entered cautiously, looking around the cabin with obvious curiosity. Sam saw them tense when they noticed his rifle mounted on the wall and the bearskin rug on the floor. Zara was sitting up on the couch, her injured leg propped up on a cushion. Ethan, she called. I'm so glad to see you. The doctor rushed to her side, checking her injuries. We need to get you back to the ship. This human saved me, Zara said. His name is Sam Bennett. He's been protecting me. Ethan looked at Sam with new interest. You've kept her secret. Why? Sam shrugged. Seemed like the right thing to do. I figured if you wanted to harm us, you would have done it already. According to protocol, we should erase your memory of this encounter, said the security officer. Sam crossed his arms. You could try. Zara spoke quickly. Sam has shown me incredible kindness, and I've learned so much about humans from him. She looked at Ethan. They're not what we thought. What do you mean? Ethan asked. Show them. Sam. Sam picked up a photo album from the table. This is my life, he said, opening it. Nothing special. The aliens gathered around, looking at pictures of Sam hiking in mountains, swimming in lakes, camping in snow, standing in desert heat. You do all this for enjoyment? Ethan asked in disbelief. Sam nodded. Sure, this is just normal stuff. Everyone does things like this. You don't understand, Ethan explained. Each of these environments would kill most species in the galaxy. Your oceans have creatures that can consume you. Your forests have plants that can poison you. Your air is thick with oxygen that would be toxic to many races. Sam laughed. That's just Earth. It's not perfect, but it's home. That's what I've been trying to tell you, Zara said. Humans don't just survive here. They love it. They protect it, explore it. They see beauty in things we see as deadly. Sam poured coffee for everyone. The alien sniffed it cautiously. It's hot and bitter, Sam warned, but it won't kill you. Ethan took a sip and coughed. Humans drink this, willingly. Every morning, Sam grinned. Some of us can't start our day without it. As they talked through the night, the aliens began to understand. Humans weren't just surviving on a death world. They were shaped by it, strengthened by it. What made Earth deadly to others had made humans uniquely resilient. And as dawn broke over the mountains, Ethan made his decision. It was time for the galaxy to meet the Deathworlders. Commander Wright stood before the communication screen, facing the stern faces of the Galactic Council. She had just finished explaining the situation, the crash, the contact with a human, and Dr. Cole's decision to bring that human aboard the Starseeker. "This is a serious breach of protocol, Commander," said Counselor Vex, his gray skin wrinkling with disapproval. "Class 14 species are to be observed only. You have endangered your crew and potentially the entire galaxy." "With respect, Counselor," Wright replied, "the situation required immediate action. The human, Sam Bennett, had already helped our technician. He kept her presence secret from his own people." "That is beside the point," another counselor cut in. "The classification system exists for a reason. These humans evolved on a planet that should be impossible to live on. Their biology must be extremely aggressive to survive such conditions." Wright took a deep breath. "That's what I'm trying to explain, Counsel. We've misunderstood these humans. Yes, they're physically resilient, but they're also compassionate, curious, and intelligent. Dr. Cole believes." "Dr. Cole is not in command of this mission," Counselor Vex interrupted. "You are, Commander, and you have failed to maintain proper distance from a potentially dangerous species." The communication ended abruptly. Wright stared at the blank screen, her stomach tight with worry. The Council would send new orders soon, and she doubted they would be favorable to the humans. Sam sat in the medical bay of the Starseeker, watching with fascination as Dr. Cole examined his blood sample. "This is remarkable," Ethan said, looking through a device Sam didn't recognize. "Your immune system is incredibly robust, and your cellular repair mechanisms." He looked up at Sam. "By our standards, you're practically indestructible." Sam laughed. "Tell that to my doctor back home. She says my cholesterol is too high." Zara, now recovering in a bed nearby, smiled. "I told you, Ethan. Sam carried me 2 miles with a broken leg. I couldn't have walked 10 steps in Earth's gravity with my injury." "That's just what anyone would do," Sam insisted. "No," Ethan said seriously. "Most species in the galaxy evolve on worlds with minimal threats. Mild climates, few predators, gentle gravity. Their bodies are adapted for efficiency, not survival under stress." He pulled up a holographic display showing different planets. "This is a Class 3 world, where the Valorians evolved. No seasons, no predators larger than what you'd call a small dog, gravity about 70% of Earth's." Sam studied the peaceful-looking world. "Sounds boring." "And this," Ethan continued, swiping to a new image, "is Earth." The hologram showed a planet ravaged by storms, with active volcanoes and vast oceans. Class 14. The highest danger rating in our system. No other intelligent species has evolved in anything above a Class 9. Sam stared at his home planet. It looked beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "So what does that make us?" Before Ethan could answer, Commander Wright entered the medical bay, her expression grim. "The Council has made their decision," she announced. "They're sending a diplomatic vessel to make official first contact with Earth's governments." "That's good news, isn't it?" Sam asked. Wright shook her head. "Not entirely. Half the Council wants to establish relations. The other half wants to quarantine your entire solar system." "Quarantine? Why?" "Fear," Zora said softly from her bed. "You're stronger than them, Sam. Your people can survive conditions that would kill most species instantly. Some see that as a threat." Sam looked down at his hands. They didn't seem special to him. "That's crazy. We're not dangerous." "Tell that to the bear whose skin is on your floor," Ethan said with a small smile. "Or to the mountains you climb for fun, or the oceans you swim in despite the predators. What's normal for you is terrifying to others." Commander Wright checked her communication device. "Earth's major governments have detected our presence. We can't hide anymore." "I should be there," Sam said, standing up. "When you talk to them, they'll need a familiar face." Wright studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Perhaps you're right. The galaxy is about to meet humanity, ready or not, and they have no idea what's coming." Karen Mitchell adjusted her navy blue suit jacket and took a deep breath. 1 week ago, She had been a mid-level diplomatic officer working on trade agreements. Now she stood as the head of Earth's first delegation to the Galactic Council. "Are you ready?" asked Ryan Jackson, the lead scientist on her team. His eyes were bright with excitement. "As ready as anyone can be to represent 8 billion people to an alien government," Karen replied with a nervous smile. The team gathered in the conference room of the United Nations building. Besides Karen and Ryan, there was Maria Gonzalez, an expert in biology, Captain Alan Davis, their military advisor, and Nicole Phillips, a cultural specialist. Together, they would be the first humans to officially visit the Galactic Council station. Sam Bennett stood off to the side with Commander Wright. After helping introduce the aliens to world leaders, Sam had been asked to join the delegation as a guide. He had already met the aliens and earned their trust. "Remember," Sam told the group, "they look different from us, but they're just people. Smart people who are a little afraid of us." "Afraid of us?" Captain Davis frowned. "They have spaceships and advanced technology. And you have bones 3 times denser than theirs, muscles built to function in higher gravity, and immune systems that can fight off thousands of diseases," Commander Wright pointed out. "To many species, humans are intimidating." A soft hum filled the room as a transport field appeared, a shimmering doorway of light. "That's our ride," Sam said. "Just step through. It doesn't hurt." Karen squared her shoulders and led her team into the light. The council chamber was a vast room with curved walls and a high ceiling. Tiered seating held representatives from over 50 different species. Some looked almost human. Others were completely alien, floating gas clouds, insect-like beings, and creatures that seemed made of crystal. The human delegation stood on a platform in the center. Karen tried not to stare at the diverse assembly, focusing instead on the 7 counselors at the head of the chamber. "We welcome the representatives of Earth," announced Counselor Vex. "This is an historic occasion, the first official contact between your world and the Galactic Coalition." Karen stepped forward. "On behalf of Earth, we thank you for this welcome. We come in peace and friendship, eager to learn about our galactic neighbors." "Before we proceed," said another counselor, a feathered being with 4 arms, "we must address certain concerns. Your species evolved on a Class 14 Deathworld, a planet with conditions most of us find lethal. This makes your potential problematic." Captain Davis tensed, but Karen kept her voice calm. "We understand your concerns, but surely our ability to adapt to challenges could be valuable to the galaxy, not a threat." "Perhaps," the counselor agreed, "but there are questions about whether humans can control their natural, aggressive tendencies." Ryan Jackson stepped forward. "May I demonstrate something?" After receiving permission, Ryan pulled out a small notebook and sneezed into it. A murmur of alarm spread through the chamber. Several delegates moved back in their seats. "I apologize," Ryan said, "but what just happened shows the misunderstanding. To us, a sneeze is nothing, a minor bodily function. But to you, it represents dangerous microbes that could be lethal to your peoples. We're not inherently aggressive. We're just adapted to a world that's demanding." To demonstrate further, Captain Davis accidentally knocked against a metal rail and bent it. When trying to fix it, he made it worse. What was ordinary human strength on Earth was shocking power here. Maria added, "Our biology isn't a weapon. It's simply how we survive our home." As the meeting continued, the council watched the humans with a mixture of fear and fascination. When Nicole Phillips calmly drank water containing minerals that would poison half the species present, several delegates whispered to each other in alarm. Karen realized the challenge ahead. How could they prove that humanity wasn't the monster some feared, while every casual action they took seemed to confirm those very fears? The emergency alarms blared throughout the Galactic Council station. Karen and her team had been there for 3 weeks, slowly building trust with various alien representatives. Now they sat in the main briefing room as Counselor Vex explained the crisis. "The Vraks have attacked 3 outer colonies," he said, his gray face grim. We've lost contact with all of them. Who are the Vracs? Asked Captain Davis. Dr. Ethan Cole, who had joined the human delegation as a science advisor, explained. A predatory species that's been in hibernation for centuries. They evolved on a Class 8 world, not as harsh as Earth, but much more challenging than most Council worlds. Holographic images appeared, showing insect-like creatures standing on two legs. They had armored exoskeletons and powerful jaws. They're physically strong, aggressive, and have natural weapons, Commander Wright added. The Council races aren't adapted for direct confrontation with such beings. Karen watched the Council members. They looked scared, lost. Their civilizations had enjoyed peace for so long that they had forgotten how to fight. What about your military forces? Asked Captain Davis. Our defense fleet is designed for precision and technology, not combat, replied a bird-like counselor. The Vracs boarded 3 ships already. In close quarters, our crews were overwhelmed. Karen noticed Sam and Captain Davis exchange looks. An idea was forming. The Council needs time to evacuate the threatened systems, Karen said carefully. Perhaps we could help with that. How? Asked Counselor Vex. Captain Davis stood up. Humans are adapted to deal with physical threats. We could form a defense force. Buy you time. The Council chamber erupted in alarmed voices. Give Deathworlders access to advanced weapons. They could be as dangerous as the Vracs. We barely know these humans. Karen raised her hands for silence. We understand your concerns, but consider this. The Vracs are attacking now. We're offering help, not a takeover. It's not just about weapons, Sam added. Humans are used to thinking about survival. We've fought wars, handled natural disasters. We're good at crisis management because our world throws crises at us all the time. The Council withdrew to discuss the offer. While they waited, the human team talked quietly among themselves. Are we really ready for this? Asked Nicole. We'd be fighting an alien species we know nothing about. We've been fighting things we don't understand since we climbed down from the trees, Ryan replied. It's practically the human motto. Maria nodded. Look at our history. Every time we face something new and dangerous, we adapt. We learn. We overcome. After what seemed like hours, the Council returned. Counselor Vex looked troubled but determined. We have decided to accept your offer with conditions. You will work alongside our specialists. You will use only the equipment we provide. And you will follow the command structure we establish. Captain Davis nodded. Agreed. There's more, Vex continued. If you succeed, the Council will reconsider Earth's classification and status. If you fail, he left the sentence unfinished. As they left the chamber, Commander Wright pulled Karen aside. You realize what you've done? She asked quietly. You've just volunteered humanity as the galaxy's defenders. Karen watched her team, already discussing strategies and training. No, she replied. I think we just found our place in the stars. That night, as Karen looked out the viewport at the distant stars, she thought about Earth. From out here, it looked so small, so blue, so peaceful. Hard to believe it was a deadly world that had forged a species tough enough to face the Vracs. Tomorrow, they would begin planning the defense. Captain Davis would train the first human space marines. Earth would show the galaxy what Deathworlders could do when protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. The galaxy was about to learn that Earth's greatest export wasn't its strength or resilience, but its determination to stand against threats, no matter how alien they might be. The command ship Unity moved silently through space, approaching the Vrax-held station. Inside, Captain Alan Davis looked at the faces of his team, a mix of humans and aliens working side by side. 3 months had passed since the Human Defense Force was formed. In that time, they had trained, planned, and already won 2 smaller battles against the Vrax. Now they faced their biggest challenge yet, retaking the Sentinel Station, a major outpost at the edge of Council space. Everyone clear on the mission? Davis asked. The team nodded. 50 humans and 20 council specialists, each bringing unique skills to the fight. The Vraks don't expect us to board directly, Davis continued. They think like predators. They expect fear, retreat, not a head-on attack. Sam Bennett, now a squad leader, checked his equipment. Their mistake. Remember, Maria added, their exoskeletons are strong, but have weak points at the joints, and they're not used to Earth-level gravity. Use that against them. The ship docked silently, using technology to mask their approach. As the airlock opened, Davis gave the signal, and the team moved in. On the Galactic Council station, Karen Mitchell and the other delegates watched the mission unfold through live feeds. The council members looked tense, still not fully convinced that humans could succeed. Your people fight differently, observed Counselor Vex. Karen nodded. We adapt to the situation. See how they're working with your specialists. The council brings technical knowledge. We bring survival instinct. On the screen, they watched as a human soldier ignored a serious cut to continue protecting an alien technician. In another section, Sam's team used their greater strength to force open doors the Vraks had sealed. They're not afraid, a bird-like counselor noted with surprise. They are, Dr. Cole corrected. Humans feel fear, but Earth taught them to function despite it. On a death world, fear is just another survival tool, not a reason to stop. Inside the station, the battle was fierce. The Vraks fought with natural weapons and stolen technology, but they hadn't expected the human approach, creative, adaptive, and surprisingly cooperative. When a Vraks patrol cornered Ryan's team in the engine room, they used the higher gravity settings to slow the enemy down. When communication systems failed, Nickel improvised a backup using skills learned from Earth's own history of warfare. Sam found himself fighting alongside a council engineer named Trill, a gentle being from a low-gravity world who had never seen combat before today. Stay behind me, Sam told Trill as they moved through the corridors. Why do you protect me? Trill asked, voice shaking. I am slowing you down. Sam smiled. Because that's what humans do. We don't just survive. We help others survive too. By the time they reached the control center, the combined force had pushed back most of the Vraks. Captain Davis led the final assault, and within hours, the station was secure. 1 month later, the council called a special session. The human delegation stood once again in the center of the chamber, but this time, the atmosphere was different. Respect had replaced fear. The Vraks' threat has been contained, announced Counselor Vex. Thanks in large part to our human allies. He stepped forward, holding a crystal sphere. This represents a new classification for Earth, no longer a Class 14 Death World, but a Class 1 Guardian World, the first of its kind. Karen accepted the sphere with pride. We are honored. Your planet created a species that doesn't just endure hardship. You thrive on challenge, Vex continued. What we saw as dangerous, we now recognize as valuable. The galaxy needs Earth's strength. As the ceremony concluded, Sam stood with Zara and Dr. Cole, watching humans and aliens mingling freely. So, Sam grinned, not bad for Deathworlders. Ha! Zara smiled. I knew from the moment you helped me that humans were special. Dr. Cole looked at the star map on the wall, where Earth now glowed with a new designation. You know what's amazing? All these advanced races, all this technology, and it took a supposedly deadly planet like Earth to teach the galaxy something important. What's that? Sam asked. That true strength isn't just about surviving the harshest conditions, Cole replied. It's about reaching out to help others survive them too. Sam nodded, watching as Captain Davis showed some alien children how to make paper airplanes. Earth's journey among the stars had just begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.